Okay, so let's go ahead. We hear how the Lord created the universal form, and then He's going to make use of it. He separates Himself into the diverse forms of the demigods after the manifestation of the gigantic universal form. And we'll hear about all of these different demigods. Prabhupada explains the only difference between the demigods and the ordinary living entities is that when the living entities are rich in pious acts of devotion to the Lord, and when their desire to lord it over material energy has vanished, they are promoted to the posts of demigods, who are entrusted by the Lord with executing the management of the universal affairs. So here it says, the desire to lord it over material energy has vanished. How do you explain this? Earlier we heard that they have the desire to lord over the material energy. But here it says the desire to lord over material energy has vanished.
And perhaps it depends on which demigods. That the demigods.
Is it that that they understand that they are controlled by the Lord, or Lord as the enjoyer, ultimate enjoyer? That's the meaning of that the desire of material energy has vanished. Because the demigods are under the Lord, the Supreme Lord. So
yes.
They're aware. They become aware that they're under the Lord. They have to serve under.
Mm-hmm.
Or that they have a mixed consciousness. Sometimes they're in the consciousness of serving the Lord, but we see that sometimes they develop an independent desire, like Indra, Brahma, on different occasions, and becomes like that.
Yes. I don't quite know the answer to this myself. It puzzles me. Earlier we were told they have the desire to lord over the material energy, but here it says the desire to lord over the material energy has vanished.
What's the word for one?
Well, it's not in the verse. It's not in the verse. This is the purport, isn't it? This is the Prabhupada's purport.
Maybe it's not enough.
Huh?
Maybe it's not enough, only their desires. They need Lord's mercy. It's not enough, only their desires. To have only their desires. Yeah.
I don't know. It's something it'd be good to discuss with Jayadvaita Swami. He must have edited this. You get a chance, you can always ask him, what is it? Barijan doesn't talk about it, nobody else. Anyway. But if you were writing a question, if you have to answer a question about the position of the demigods, how do you describe it? In the purport to text 11 it says, simply quote where you're taking the information from. Let's go ahead. we hear about the different creative demigods. The first one mentioned is Agni, or heat, separating from his mouth. By that energy, the living entity expresses himself in words. Prabhupada talks about the mouth, that it's the most important part of the body. Very important. We had one brahmachari here some years ago. He had some surgery. He had some kind of cancer, and he had some surgery, and they cut at his mouth. They cut away his mouth, and it was just terrible. So he didn't live very long after that. It was horrible what they did to him. The surgery, they cut off part of his mouth, most of his mouth. So the director of the fire element, Agni,
Can you go back to that verse? Yeah, it's interesting. It says that that's how I remember the Adidaiva portion is the demigod in control, the Adhyatma portion is the bodily function or the part related to the body, and the part that's related to the senses or speech is the Adibodhic, or the part that's the object of such sense.
Mm-hmm. And then next one is Varuna, the director of water. And he enters when the palette of the gigantic form was separately manifested. So Varuna, generally Varuna is the god of the sea, or the director of water. Thus the living entity has facility to taste everything with his tongue. So Varuna gives that facility to taste with the tongue. Agni gives the power to speak, to express herself in words. And then next one is the Ashwini Kumaras, and they are the two nostrils. And because of them, we are able to smell the aromas of everything. So the sense of smell coming from the nose, but it's not just having a nose, there has to be that power to be able to smell things. Just like in a dead body, you can have eyes, but they're not working, they can't see anything. And so in the same way, some people, they're living, but they're not able to see. Although they have eyes, they're blind. They have eyes, but they're not functioning. Some people, they can smell things. They're not able to detect any kind of aroma. Must be due to the Ashwini Kumaras. Maybe they're not giving their power to that person. And then the sun are the two eyes. The sun entered them with the partial representation of eyesight, and so we have vision of forms. So sun, eye of the world. And then Anila, the wind, the deity directing the wind. And because of the wind, we are able to realize the sense of touch. And then the next one, the ears. All the controlling deities of the directions entered into them with the hearing principle, by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound. All the controlling deities of the directions. Prabhupada said, the ear is the most important instrument in the body of the living entity. Sound is the most important medium for carrying the message of distant and unknown things. The perfection of all sound or knowledge enters through the ear and makes one's life perfect. The entire Vedic system of knowledge is received by oral reception only, and thus sound is the most important source of knowledge. Well, we could argue about that. We could say, well, you could read. So in order to read, you have to have sight, you have to have vision, be able to see the books to read. We don't have to hear, right? We could simply read the scriptures, read the text. So that's another way of hearing. Reading the books is also hearing.
How?
Hmm?
How is it?
Well, somebody has to write the books, right?
Oh.
So you're hearing from somebody. Prabhupada said, you can know me from my books. Read my books. You're hearing Prabhupada. And Prabhupada actually dictated. Right? He was dictating the books, and then devotees would transcribe the dictation. So reading is also hearing. We actually asked Prabhupada about that. I remember one time in London, Prabhupada was there, and we asked, because we were always hearing, it's always been taught about, you have to hear. So we wanted to know, do we need to read aloud? And some devotees encourage you to read aloud. Some people, they say you should read aloud and hear. But Prabhupada said, yeah, reading is also hearing.
The sound in the mind is also a kind of sound.
Yes. Sound, the mental, well, we have to control the mind, right?
Yeah, but if I think about a sentence, that's a certain level of sound also. That's described in 11th Canto, like different manifestation of sound.
I was going to say, Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he said that the sound begins in the ether, but we can't perceive sound in the ether. Although sound is there, we can't perceive it, and then it goes into the mind, and then from the mind it goes into the air moves and we can hear with our gross ears. But actual sound is beginning in the ether, so even in the mind when you're thinking, that's considered sound vibration, even though it's not, we're not hearing with our ears. And then so spiritual sound starts in the spiritual world and goes to the ether, in the mind, and then out the mouth. But even spiritual sound vibration in the ether still purifies us, or even thinking it purifies us. That's what Bhakti Swami told me.
Okay. So, the sound, you were saying sound in the mind.
Yeah.
Where does this sound come from?
Reading.
From the ether.
Ether is in the mind also, yeah?
Huh?
Ether is in the mind also, yeah?
Mind is more subtle than ether.
Anyway, let's stick with the text here. Next one, the manifestation of skin and different sensations which come from the skin, particularly itching and happiness due to touch. The controlling deities of sensation and their different parts. We're not told the name of that deity, but the activity itching and happiness due to touch. Oh, in the purport they write something about it. Prabhupada quotes with Vishwanath Chakravarti, says that the controlling deity of the hairs on the body is Oshadya. The sense of touch and itching are controlled by the skin and hairs on the body. The genitals and the sex pleasure, it's the prajapatis. The evacuation, the demigod named Mitra, and thus the living entities are able to pass stool and urine. Thereafter the hands became manifest, Indra, and with their hands we're able to do business for livelihood. And then Vishnu, who is not the personality of Godhead, but he allows for the living entity to move it. The legs of the universal form became manifest. The demigod Vishnu. And then next is the intelligence. Brahma, the Lord of the Vedas, entered with the power of understanding. With an object of understanding is experienced by the living entities. Then the heart. That's the moon god, right? The moon, with partial mental activity. The living entity can conduct his mental speculations. The moon is always related with the mind. When there's a full moon night, some people go crazy. So I remember in New York, in the temple in Brooklyn, people on the full moon night, people will come banging on the doors. You know, they just go crazy because of full moon. So the moon, the demigod of the moon, influences the mind. The living entity can do mental speculation. To control the mind, there's a deity in Kapila Shiksha. They talk about Aniruddha. Aniruddha is the deity of the mind. And then the materialistic ego. Rudra, the controller of false ego, and the living entity transacts his actions, his objective actions. So Rudra is the expansion of Lord Shiva, incarnation of Lord Shiva, controls the mode of ignorance. And then after, when his consciousness separately manifested itself, the Mahatattva entered with his conscious part. Thus, the living entity is able to conceive specific knowledge. The total energy, Mahatattva. So consciousness separately manifested. And with the help of consciousness, you can understand certain knowledge. And then they talk about the head of the universal form. The head is the heavenly planets, and his legs are the earthly planets. And from his abdomen, it says, the sky separately manifested himself. Within them, the demigods and others were also manifested. So, this between the earth and the heavenly planets, we have Bhuvar Loka. Bhuvar Loka, right? Om Bhu Bhuva Swata Savitu. In the Brahma Gayatri mantra, it goes like that. Bhuva Swa. We're Bhuloka, and above Bhuloka, Bhuvar Loka, and above Bhuvar Loka, Satya Loka, or Swarga Loka, yeah. So, this is the meaning here. The demigods and others were also manifested. And then the demigods are situated in the heavenly planets, and the humans, because of the nature of passion, they live on earth. Heavenly planets are the mode of goodness, we are in the mode of passion. And those who are with the mode of ignorance, they're in the animal kingdom, or the hellish planets. Prabhupada mentions an interesting point. He talks about domestic animals. He said, below humans are the animals, and some of them mingle with human society. And he mentions cows, horses, dogs. They're habituated to living under the protection of human beings. Living entities who are associates of Rudra develop in the third mode of material nature, or ignorance. They are situated in the sky between the earthly planets and the heavenly planets. So that is Bhuvar Loka. When it says situated in the sky, it means in that region between the earthly planets and the heavenly planets. And that is Bhuvar Loka.
Maharaj,
Huh?
could we say that Bhuvar Loka, since it says that these are the associates of Rudra, can we say that they're, that's like the ghostly realms, the Bhuvar Loka, subtle living entities?
Yeah, but that's what it says. They're in the mode of ignorance, but somehow they're situated higher than the earthly planet.
It says in the 5th canto, the Versabdev, the Shiksha, that the ghosts are considered higher than humans because they don't have a gross body.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, they're in the mode of ignorance.
Yeah. So you can see, mentioned here, those who develop the mode of passion are situated in the middle region, but those who are situated in the mode of ignorance, they're placed in the society of animals or ghosts. But we're told here that this planet, this is the Bhuvaloka. So as Prabhu said, although they have a ghost body, it's better than having a gross body. Difficult to understand. But Prabhupada said, there are no contradictions in this conclusion. Just numerous living entities are distributed all over the universe in terms of their own qualities and the modes of nature. And then the Vedic wisdom became manifest from the mouth. Those who are inclined to the Vedic knowledge are called Brahmanas. They are the natural teachers and spiritual masters. So that's also part of the universal form. And which part of the Brahmanas? The Brahmanas, they are the mouth. A Brahmana is meant to speak. It's meant to speak Vedic knowledge. The Kshatriyas are the arms, the Vaishyas are the belly, and the Sudras the legs. So everyone is in that Virata Rup. Everyone is a part of that universal body. So we all have a duty to cooperate together, to help each other. You see, previously Prabhupada was saying, what was the most important part of the body?
Mouth.
The ear. Prabhupada was talking about the ear, but here Prabhupada said the most important part of the body is the mouth. If the mouth is cut off, one cannot live. And the most important part of the body of the Lord is the sitting place of the Brahmanas, who are inclined to the Vedic wisdom. No, the Brahmanas are the mouth. And who can become anyone from any family, any part of the world may become inclined to the Vedic wisdom, and that will qualify him as a real Brahmana. Of course, this is controversial in India, very difficult for people to accept that. Although Sanatana Goswami quoted, anyone can become a Brahmana just as bell metal can be made into gold. So certainly, to make gold is not a very easy thing. So similarly also to make people Brahmanas, not very easy. And Prabhupada said, somebody who knows the impersonal Brahman, can they be a Brahmana? If they don't know Krishna?
They can be a Brahmana.
Yeah, they can be a Brahmana, but they cannot be a guru. They have to know Krishna. They can be a Brahmana. The impersonalist can be a Brahmana, but he's not a genuine guru until he comes to the stage of the Vaishnava. The Lord Chaitanya is quoted that you have to know the science of Krishna. Anyone who knows the science of Krishna, then he can be a Brahmana. He can be a guru. So after describing the Brahmana, then they talk about the Kshatriya and the duty of the Kshatriyas, his duty. What he's meant to do. Kshatriya means to give protection to others. That's supposed to be done. From the arms, the Kshatriyas came into existence protecting society from thieves and miscreants. So qualification. How are people going to be recognized as Kshatriyas? How should they be like? Heroism, right? They should be very bold, right? Fearless. Give you a sword, right? In Jaipur, to become the king, you give you a sword, go out and kill a tiger. Then you come back and make you the king.
Still.
Huh?
Still.
Well, it used to be, not long ago. They've got the heads of the tigers there in the palace. Nowadays, they don't have kings in Jaipur anymore. They took everything away from them.
Democracy.
But the one that I was there in Jaipur not long ago, and I saw they had some photos up about the one who is the prince or the son of the queen of Jaipur, and he was in the army and he'd done something very bold. He was leading a military group and he attacked some terrorists and he fought and killed some terrorists. He was a real Kshatriya. He was very bold. Like to go out and fight and kill the miscreants and the dacoits. He was a real Kshatriya. Anyway, that was the culture in Jaipur, not 100 years ago. They took everything away, from the kings. When India got independence from the British, then the government took all the lands away from all the kings. They made the kings give up all their properties and stuff. Yeah. Because there were so many kings, and in India there were so many little kingdoms, and each had their kingdoms and palaces and wealth and so on, and the government took it all away.
Mm-hmm.
It means the land didn't belong to them?
Huh?
That means the land didn't belong to them.
Well, yeah. Anyway, the government took it all away, and what did they do with it? Anyway, Kshatriyas, the qualities of the Kshatriya are described. Prabhupada said, problem today is we give too much importance to the Vaishyas and Sudras and not enough importance to Brahmins and Kshatriyas. There are no Brahmins and Kshatriyas practically in the Kali Yuga. That's the problem. But when the society is properly organized, then it's very nice, and they work together, cooperate with each other. Prabhupada said, birth is an extraneous consideration. It is not the main feature. Birth is not. But of course that's not what the Brahmanas say. The Jati Brahmins, I am a Brahmin. Some people will say, I'm a Vaishnava, I'm born in a Vaishnava. I'm a Vaishnava. You don't become a Vaishnava just by birth. Similarly, Brahmana is not by birth, it's meant to be by qualification, right? Bhagavad Gita says, Chatur Varnam Guna Karma Vibhag. Doesn't say Janma Karma, it says Guna Karma. So of the three, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, Purushas and Kshatriyas are expected to represent the Purush, to give protection to the Prajas, meant to protect the man and the animals. The modern democratic state which has no Kshatriyas is a government of the Vaishyas and Sudras. And then Prabhupada talks about Maharaj Parikshit and Maharaj Yudhisthira. And then the over-influence of the Vaishyas and Sudras by the so-called general franchise. And the lack of qualified Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Prabhupada talks about the rulers, how they're meant to give protection to the people. They cannot even give protection from a thief. There's so many thieves there come and they'll steal your property. Nobody will protect you. One devotee told me he was in the airport in London and somebody stole his computer bag. And he went to the policeman and said, I had my computer in my computer bag and somebody stole. And the policeman said, well, what do you expect? You carry a computer in your computer bag, definitely going to steal it. You don't get any sympathy. And then, after talking about Brahmins and Kshatriyas, then the Vaishyas are mentioned. Mercantile men, they take charge of the distribution, property, agriculture, very important, very pious profession. But we need Brahmins and Kshatriyas also. And the purport Prabhupada describes many different functions the Vaishyas do: cow protection, agriculture, business. Human society can depend on the cow and agricultural land for his livelihood. You cannot depend on the factory. You cannot depend on industrial enterprises for your livelihood, for your sustenance. Nowadays, many villages, they suffer from lack of young people. There are no young people. They've all gone away to the cities to work in the factories, to work in the offices, and there's no young people in the countryside to do the farming. And when it comes to plant rice or to harvest the crop, there are no people. There's only the old people. Who's in the village? The children and the old people. All the young people have gone to the cities after money, to make the big money. And so this is the problem. It creates serious problems in the economy. But the Vaishyas are needed to take charge of production, distribution. And Prabhupada describes how the Brahmanas would be provided for by the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas pay tax because they have the land and they're farming and they're selling the produce, so they make they're earning, and they're expected to pay tax. And the kings could come and take taxes from them, and then the Brahmanas would come and the Brahmanas would get charity from the kings. And this is how the Brahmanas would not work. A Brahmana works, then he loses his position as a Brahmana. And Brahmana should simply depend on, he can accept charity. Brahmana is allowed to teach the Shastra and study Shastra, and they worship the deity and they teach others to worship the deity, and they can accept charity and give charity. But in the Kali Yuga, the Brahmanas are expert in only one thing of the 6 things. Which one do you think they're expert in?
Accepting charity.
Yes. They're experts in accepting charity. Never give any charity. Don't do anything else. So this is Kali Yuga. And then the Sudras are mentioned, how the Sudras are situated on the legs, and they satisfy the Lord by service. So Prabhupada writes, service is the real constitutional occupation of all living entities. We're all servants. Right? We're all meant to be engaged in service. Whether Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, we're all servants. But nobody wants to be the servant today. Everyone wants to be the master. We all want to lord over the material energy. Prabhupada writes, it's better to be a Sudra than to be a Brahmana and not develop the service attitude. Because that attitude alone satisfies the Lord. The attitude of service. If the Brahmana doesn't have the service attitude, then he's simply proud, puffed up. But he should be humble, Vidya Vinaya, learned and gentle. So all of these different people are all parts of the universal form, and they all have a position in relation to the body of the Lord. So we should have that mood of service, just like the parts of the body are serving the body. The hand serves the body, the leg serves the body, the eyes serve the body. We're using our different organs in the service of the body. In the same way, every living entity is meant to serve the body, the universal body, the body of the Supreme Lord. This is the connection. All these different social divisions are born with their duties and living conditions from the Supreme Lord. For unconditional life and self-realization, one has to worship the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. Right? So then, now he's finished describing the creation and the different demigods, and now Maitreya switches to describe about the unlimited nature of the Supreme Lord. He said, who can estimate or measure the transcendental time, work and potency of the gigantic form manifested by the internal potency of the Lord? He is describing the Achintya Shakti, the inconceivable potency of the Lord. And the materialists, they're trying to understand by their speculation. But how can we understand? Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is describing the universal form. He says, I cannot find the end of this manifestation, nor do I see the middle, nor the beginning. I see everywhere, hands, bodies, mouths, eyes, they are all unlimited. So this is the nature of the Lord, this Vishwarup, this inconceivable potency of the Lord. So who can understand the power of the Lord? Prabhupada said the best path is to become a cool-headed, submissive devotee of the Lord. Try to hear about the Lord from the bona fide spiritual master and serve the Lord in transcendental loving service, as suggested in the previous verse. Maitreya continues to describe the infinite glory of the Lord and how beyond his ability to properly describe him. And he said, in spite of my inability, whatever I've been able to hear, whatever I could assimilate, I am now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech. For otherwise my power of speaking would remain unchaste. So this is the important point. The power of speaking should remain chaste, right? Just like a wife should be chaste to her husband, so in the same way our speaking should remain chaste to who?
Lord.
To the Lord, to the Guru, yes? Chaste. What does it mean, actually? How can we be chaste in our speaking?
To speak only about Krishna, nothing else. And it should be bona fide through the parampara, not like changing.
Yeah, it should be authorized. What we're presenting shouldn't be speculation. It should be shastric, right? Prabhupada said, one should not become unchaste by stopping the activities of pure consciousness. If the activities of pure consciousness are stopped, certainly the conscious living force will be otherwise engaged, because unless engaged, the consciousness has no standing. Consciousness cannot be silent even for a moment. Right? Our minds cannot be silent even for a moment. The consciousness acts in the form of dreams. Unconsciousness is artificial. And by inducing extraneous help, it remains for a limited period. But when the intoxication of the drug is finished, or when one is awake, the consciousness again acts earnestly. So like that, we have to have proper engagement. We have to engage our mind in consciousness of Krishna. We cannot stop the consciousness. Even in sleeping, consciousness is there, the dreams which come. So Prabhupada writes about Maitreya, he's trying to avoid unchaste conscious activities. He's trying to describe the unlimited glories of the Lord, but he did not have the ability to describe them perfectly. So, how can we describe everything perfectly? We cannot expect everything will be perfect. But according to our ability, we try our best. It's not possible to repeat all that one has heard from a spiritual master. But one can narrate as far as possible by one's honest endeavor. It does not matter whether the Lord's glories are fully explained or not. One must attempt to engage mental and verbal activities in the glorification of the Lord. Otherwise, such activities will remain unchaste and impure. And then Prabhupada writes about the Vaishnava sannyasi, the method of engaging mind and speech in the service. The Vaishnava sannyasi carries the tridandi, meaning three rods, the body, the mind and words, all engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Now the Mayavadis, they carry ekadanda. They carry one rod. Why one rod? Because they say
all one.
It's all one, yeah. This is Sarvam Kauf Idam Brahma. The oneness. Their goal is to achieve the oneness. And everything is one. And even when you meet a Mayavadi sannyasi, you're supposed to say, Namo Narayan. I offer my obeisances to you who are as good as Narayan. The Ekadandi sannyasi takes a vow to become one with the Supreme. So the Mayavadi sannyasis, they don't have a sikha. They won't keep a sikha. They take off their Brahman threads even.
True that Lord Chaitanya didn't, in the sannyas form, actually didn't have a sikha or a Brahmin thread, huh?
Yeah, right. There's Lord Chaitanya took sannyas from Keshava Bharati.
But in the drawings we see Lord Chaitanya with shikas.
No?
Prabhu mentioned Lord Chaitanya did not have a shika and sannyas. But in drawings we see that Lord Chaitanya has a shika.
Really?
But it's true, but in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Chaitanya Bhagavad, it says that he cut it off.
He shaved his head. He shaved his head. His hair is in samadhi. If you go to Katwa, there's a samadhi for Lord Chaitanya's hair.
Why didn't he keep the shika though?
Why didn't he keep a sikha? Because he took Mayavadi sannyas. He took sannyas in the line of Shankaracharya.
So later did he grow a shika or?
No.
So
He didn't shave his head again. His hair didn't grow again.
Oh, he didn't grow again?
No. That's what I heard.
It's just the way we depict him. Because actually, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, I can't confirm it, but someone told me Prabhupada said do it anyway so people know that we're associated with Lord Chaitanya. But in the actual fact, Lord Chaitanya didn't have a sikha or a Brahmin thread. And in Sarvam Bhattacharya's song, it says he wore red. There's a sannyasi, reddish color, saffron.
Huh? He wore what?
Reddish? Recta.
Yeah, well that was the color because he used a dye. They wouldn't use chemical dyes, of course, in those days, and they didn't have the synthetic cloth like what we have today. But they would dye the cloth with a stone. You get this red stone, and they use it to put the color into the cloth. So the sannyasis would wear it. It's a kind of brown red, you know. So he was wearing like that.
He was wearing Vaishnava tilak.
Huh?
He was wearing Vaishnava tilak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kanti?
Hmm?
What about?
Yeah, Kunti Mala, all that's there. But just the symbols of sannyas, for the Mayavadi sannyasis, they take off their thread and they shave the shika.
Yeah, Mayavadis, they don't have a sikha. Well, they usually don't have sikhas anyway. You know? And they take off the Brahma thread. Because they've become Narayan. So they don't need to meditate on Narayan, they've already become Narayan. So Lord Chaitanya, you know, he was, although he was a Vaishnava, that he had taken the initiation in that line of Keshava Bharati. And Keshava Bharati was a Vaishnava also, but he had been initiated in that line.
Also, all those sannyasis, the Madhavendra Puri, they're coming from that line. From Vishwabharati, Madhavendra Puri.
Madhavendra Puri was initiated in the Madhva line.
Yeah, but he took sannyas, I think, also from, because that's the Puri, they have that title Puri. It's coming, it's one of the titles of the Mayapur sannyas. Puri,
Yeah.
Bharati.
No, can be Vaishnava.
Lakshmi Pati is Madhavendra Puri's
We have Puris. We have Puris in our line. Yeah. Madhavendra Puri, he'd taken and millennium, but that's why Lord Chaitanya took his initiation from Ishwarapuri, to be connected to Madhavendra Puri. So anyway, the point is that the body, mind and words should all be used in the service of the Supreme Lord. And the Vaishnava sannyasis, they're meant to do that. But he remains the servant. In the impersonal, the Mayavadis, Ekadandi sannyasis, they become the master, they become Narayan. You say Namo Narayan. They become the supreme. Sayujya, they've achieved the oneness. When Lord Chaitanya came to Benares and he was invited to meet with all the Mayavadi sannyasis, when they saw him, they thought he'd already achieved the oneness because he was so effulgent. Lord Chaitanya displayed a unique effulgence, and Prakasananda Saraswati was sitting there, and then he saw this effulgent personality. Wow, he thought, wow, he's already Narayan, you know. So Prakasananda got up and came over and brought him inside. He thought, oh, he's already achieved the oneness. And that's why he's so effulgent. Okay, and then 37. The highest perfection or gain of humanity is to engage in discussions of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Pious actor. I don't know how we got this. Prabhupada gets this pious actor. Anyway, it's Prabhupada's own appreciation for the Lord. Such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the ear is served just by being near them. So that's the idea. We need to hear. We need to hear from the devotees. Prabhupada said impersonalists, they're afraid to hear. They think that happiness of Brahman is the goal. And if you hear about anyone's activities, even the activities of Krishna, they think it's mundane. You're not supposed to have any activities. So they will simply speak about the glories of the oneness, of the Brahman, of the effulgence entering. But you shouldn't have any feelings, you shouldn't have any emotions, shouldn't have any relations. They have these Buddhist retreats. People, some people that are attracted to go to the Buddhist monasteries for the weekend retreat, Did you ever try it?
I know a lot of people that go to my temple did that before they were devotees.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they go for like 3 weeks in silence.
Yeah, they have this temple in Thailand anyway. There's a famous temple in Thailand, and people like to go there to this temple. Devamrita Swami told me about it. I mean, I go to Thailand. I preach in Thailand quite a bit. I've been going there for years. And so they have these Buddhist retreats, and people come there, and they'll tell you, don't talk to anyone. That's the first thing. Don't talk to anyone. Don't even look at people. You're not here to make. You're just here to meditate. And you should, And the whole program is meditation. Meditate in the morning. Okay, now we're going to have lunch. Come back after lunch. meditate. Sit and meditate. Like the whole day just meditation, you know. Just agony for people. No talking, no relationships. Don't try to make friends, you know. So, and another time, tried to get, you know, I was in Taiwan and we were doing kirtan. Taiwan is a Buddhist country, and we were at a program and we were having kirtan. And so these Buddhist monks, the young Buddhist monks, they came and they sat and they were sitting meditating, and they said, "Oh, very nice." So we like, I said, "Come on, you know, get out, you can chant." Oh no. They cannot show any emotion. They can only meditate, you know. They like the meditation, the sound of the madanga, the kartal, the chanting, but they won't join in. They won't show any emotion. Just no feelings, no emotions. They think anything must be material, must be mundane. We should avoid the mundane activities. And so they do not understand the transcendental nature of these activities. The feelings of the devotee and the activities, they're all transcendental, they're all in relation to Krishna. Prabhupada quotes Jiva Goswami. He says, the transcendental activities of the Lord are far beyond the transcendental realization of kaivalya, happiness. The happiness of this kaivalya, this is just one drop of the ocean of devotion. And 38, describing more, Maitreya talks about Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, now he is Adhikavaye, he is the original philosopher, the most intelligent person in the universe, and he's trying to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maitreya, he says, the original poet, Brahma, after mature meditation for 1,000 celestial years, could know only that the glories of the Supreme Soul are inconceivable. So this is how Maitreya is supporting his statement that the Lord is just inconceivable. You know, it's just beyond the power of our mind and senses, that even Lord Brahma, who is the original poet, he's Adhikavaye, he's a primeval philosopher, the most intelligent person, that even he, after meditating for 1,000 celestial years, he understands the Lord is inconceivable. It's amazing. What a conclusion, you know, to come to that. And but still, people are trying to understand. They're trying, making their own efforts to try to understand the Lord. So it's very important in presenting our Krishna conscious philosophy. It's often a good strategy to introduce to them that there are such phenomena as achintya shakti. This is sometimes people have some difficulties in it. You know, when we start telling them about the power of Lord Krishna, we say, well, it's inconceivable. And there are inconceivable phenomena in the world, right? What are some achintya shaktis that we see in the world? Can you think of some examples?
In the Sri Lanka beach, no, in the Sri Lanka ocean, like there's this place where they cannot cross because they say that there's this the demoness is still there. I forgot the names.
What's she talking about?
Are you talking about the Sri Lanka Bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying that in Sri Lanka there's the bridge Lord Ram made across the ocean.
Well, that's controversial anyway, because Sri Lanka today, was that the Sri Lanka in the time of Lord Rama? According to historians, they say that Sri Lanka used to be a part of India, but over the course of thousands of years it became separated. And Hanuman jumped across the ocean. It wasn't just to Sri Lanka. That wouldn't be a very big jump for Hanuman, right? Hanuman jumped right across the ocean to go to Sri Lanka. Where was Sri Lanka? It must have been somewhere in the middle of the ocean. It wasn't just what we call Sri Lanka. I mean, we don't like to disturb people's faith in these things, but it's difficult to support with practical evidence. Sri Lanka today is a replica of Sri Lanka, of the actual Sri Lanka, but I don't think it's the
actual things bigger Duloka, bigger Duloka.
Yeah, it could be. It could also be some island somewhere in the middle of the ocean,
You're referring more to like natural phenomena that are inconceivable.
Yeah. What are some natural phenomena that are inconceivable, have inconceivable potency?
The sun.
Yeah, that's the most obvious example. The sun. That every moment the sun is emitting so much heat and light, lights up the whole universe. Do we ever see any source of power which has so much energy? You make a fire, you have to put more fuel on the fire. Even the electric power stations, you have to have some source of power to get the energy for generating electricity. You have to, coal-fired power stations or oil-fired power stations, or sometimes they use solar radiation also, and sometimes the tidal power, the different sources of energy coming. Any other examples you can think about? Achintya Shakti? Yes?
How you're able to digest your own foodstuffs. Prabhupada says we don't even know our own body. It's Achintya Shakti, you are able to digest the foodstuffs. Acids and bases are being released at proper time and food is being digested. We are not controlling the food, it's happening automatically.
Okay, food is being digested automatically. How does it do? We don't do anything, it just happens. The parts of the body just function. Yes? Interesting. Any other example? Achintya Shakti, inconceivable powers.
Or is maintaining all living beings, or somehow maintaining all the plants, animals, bugs, insects, everything is somehow going to be maintained.
Yeah. How are they all being maintained? Nityo Nityanam Eko Vedati Karma. That one Supreme Lord providing the needs of everyone. The insects, the birds, the fish, so many creatures, they're all being maintained by the grace of the Lord, by the arrangement, His transcendental arrangement. Rice fields, you can see in India so many rice fields. Every year they plant the rice, and every year they harvest so much rice. It's all coming. The Lord's arranging. So much rice is growing. It's not that, oh, you grew the rice last year, you cannot grow rice again. Every year they plant and harvest, it grows again and again and again. And it's been like that for hundreds and thousands of years even. And then when a woman gives birth to a child and she has to feed her baby, immediately the milk is there in her breast. The milk flows from her breast. The woman doesn't do anything. She just gave birth to the baby, and because the baby is born, milk flows from her breast to feed her baby. How does it happen? It's inconceivable potency of the Lord. So, if we can get people to understand that there is such a thing as a Chincha Shakti, then it goes a long way to helping them to understand that there is a personality of Godhead who has these inconceivable powers. Otherwise, how can we explain to people, that he can do all of these things? That the little boy can pick up the Govardhan hill and he can expand himself 16,100 times and marry all these women and have a palace for each of them. But when we accept that there is such a thing as a Chincha Shakti, and that he is the source of that Shakti, he's a Shaktiman, then you can, this is God. This is the Supreme Lord. So you want people to understand God, you have to understand there are these inconceivable powers. In science, there's many, the scientists in their endeavors, they're always trying to measure everything. We call them empirical scientists, right? They want to measure everything and calibrate everything. They tried to isolate one particle. There was this one particle they were trying to isolate, and they passed the light, which was carrying this particle, they passed it through a lead chamber. And the lead chamber was like 20 feet long, and lead is the most dense of all materials. But that particle came right through the lead channel without being isolated. It was so fine, it was so small, it could pass through that. So that it's inconceivable. So, for devotees, we have no problem. We can understand these things, that there are inconceivable powers. But for materialistic people, very difficult. If you could get them to accept that there was such a person as Lord Brahma, and that there is a Lord Brahma, the original person in the universe, and that he did meditation for 1,000 celestial years, then that would be a good start in trying to convince them. And then Prabhupada quotes Brahma Samhita. There's a verse in the Brahma Samhita about Muni Pungavam, right? How does it go? Muni Pungavam, that even if you travel at the speed of the mind for millions of years, how fast the mind travels? You think of the moon, immediately you can be in the moon. So that if you travel at the speed of the mind for millions of years, but still you cannot approach the lotus feet of Govinda. So devotee doesn't, we don't waste our time trying to get this knowledge of the Supreme. Rather, we simply hear the knowledge which is given. We hear from the devotees. This is the process. So then Prabhupada quotes about Bhagavad Gita and how the devotees take shelter of the Paraprakriti, we take shelter of the consorts of the Lord, His internal potency. And in this way, devotees are also Mahatmas. Otherwise, you can just waste your time. Prabhupada said, devotees are happy both in this life and in the next. For the devotee, it doesn't matter if they live or if they die. Jiva Goswami quotes, Rajaputra Charanjiva Majiva Rishiputraka Jiva Va Maravasado Vyadi Majiva Mamara. Right? Do you know that story?
Yeah.
The king's son, may you live forever. Rajaputra Charanjiva, don't die, because he's such a rascal. You know, he's doing so much nonsense that when he dies, he'll definitely suffer. So, Rajaputra Charanjiva, don't die. Majiva Rishiputraka, the Rishi's son, he's living in the forest with his father, and they just eat simple whatever grows in the forest, some wild potato or some herbs, and drink the water from the stream. He's doing so much austerity, but when he dies, next birth he'll get a very good birth. And Jivava, Marava, Sadhu. For the sadhu, it doesn't matter if he lives or if he dies. When he lives, he's enjoying prasadam and going to temple, chanting Hare Krishna, hearing the katha. And when he dies, he'll go on and serve Krishna some other place. So it doesn't matter if they live or... But Vyadi Majiva Mara. Vyadi means the butcher. Butcher, don't live and don't die. Because you're living in hell, when he dies, he'll go to hell also. And so devotees get pleasure, they're happy in this life and the life after also. Give this life to Krishna and nothing to lose. Maitreya continues, the potency of the Lord is bewildering even to the jugglers. That potency is unknown even to the self-sufficient Lord, so it is certainly unknown to others. Even the Lord Himself cannot understand fully His potency. So what to speak of it? Who are these jugglers, these speculators? They cannot understand these things. And Prabhupada gives an example about the banyan tree. Why the banyan tree?
Because the banyan tree has a little seed that could turn into a whole banyan tree. Krishna can fit the entire tree, which is so massive as a little teeny seed.
Yes, and every tree has so many fruits, and fruits have so many seeds, and each seed has the potency of another tree. Right? It's inconceivable. And then final verse, words, mind and ego with their respective controlling demigods have failed to achieve success in knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore we simply have to offer our respectful obeisances unto Him. It's a matter of sanity. Right? The controlling demigods of the words, mind and ego. And who are these controlling demigods? Vedas, Brahma and Rudra. Rudra controls the ego, Brahma, the mind here, and speech, the Vedas. All the demigods, headed by Brihaspati, they're all unable to know the Lord. Why should the devotee, the Prabhupada, if they don't know the Lord, why should the devotee be interested in this unknown object? So this is an argument, that why are you interested to know something which is unknown anyway? So the answer is that the pleasure that devotees get in hearing and discussing the pastimes of the Lord, that this is unknown to non-devotees and mentals. They cannot understand the pleasure. How we can come together every day and study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam one day every day we're hearing a verse, and we're hearing our whole life Srimad Bhagavat, and we get pleasure, we enjoy hearing. But to the non-devotees, why every day you do that? Every day. Somebody would say, every day we sing the same songs. Every day we sing Samsara Dhamma. So some people, they don't have very strong devotion, and they feel like that. It's a waste of sing the same songs every day. Okay. They have that lack. So Prabhupada quotes Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam Tada Pashyanti Sura, and that the absolute truth is that He's unlimited, He's supreme. Okay, so then this is end of chapter 6. Anybody, any problems with this chapter? Anything? So creation, the universal form was created. We will hear tomorrow, chapter 7, further inquiries by Vidura. He's got more questions. Alright. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
You spend most of your time in Asia, Maharaj?
Huh?
You spend most of your time preaching in Asia?
Oh yeah. I went to Europe left just 6 months ago for the first time in 30 years.
30
Yeah, I've been busy in Asia.
You've been home for 30 years?
Huh?
You haven't been home for 30 years?
Home? This is my home, Mayapur.
So